Hi, my name is Steve Hahn. I went to the University of Chicago and I am a senior strategist here at Crimson. So before Crimson, I worked as an admissions reader for the University of Chicago. So I helped admit the classes of 2021 and 2022. After that, I went to another consulting firm and helped kids primarily in China. And then after that, I came here to Crimson. So I help students all across the world now as a strategist. As one of the senior strategists, I work with students that primarily work in the arts and STEM. So those are my two specialties. And as a strategist, more generally, I work with helping kids plan what strategies they might want to implement from whenever they join Crimson all the way up until they enroll at the university that they're going to go to. So I help them from whether they join in 8th grade on or senior year on. So working at UChicago beforehand gave me a lot of insight into how the inner workings of admissions works from a top college perspective. So knowing what factors goes into a student's profile when we receive it. And so in having that line of work as experience, going into this line of work in terms of helping students on this side of things, it helps a lot in terms of I know how to package a student's application, knowing what kind of extracurriculars might help with a student's strength. I myself am a former high STEM student, I guess, so just having personal experience and as well helping students be introduced to different academic competitions, classes, opportunities over the summer. Those are all things that help in terms of making a student's strengths shine and helping them seem as well-rounded as possible while still not having them lose their voice. Yeah, I think that for me, I used to live in Korea and then moved to America, and the admissions process in the US is very confusing. The way I usually tell my students when they join Crimson is that it's like a board game that someone's mom lost the instruction manual to, so no one knows how to play it and everyone's guessing how to play it. So, my job is to provide an instruction manual for students, and I think it really helps in so much that I didn't have a service like Crimson to use when I was going through the college admissions process, and having gone through it was, like I said, pretty confusing. And so, and I know how much going to a school that's a good fit for you can do for you both academically, in terms of what you're looking for in life, and just for your self-confidence. And so just having been very lucky in going to UChicago, which was a great fit for me, even though I didn't get help there, I know I want to be able to, I guess, pay it forward. So being able to work with students and help them find that perfect fit for them so that they can go off and do whatever they want to do. I'm not someone that's beholden to a student who wants to be pre-med being pre-med forever, but I am someone that's committed to a student going somewhere where it's going to help further whatever their narrative is. So I think this line of work is really conducive for that. Yes, I had a student from the New Jersey area, which is where I was born, and he's Korean, and he's a swimmer and he plays the cello, so he reminded me a lot of me. I think the main thing is that he was just not necessarily the most organized. He didn't know how to get everything together for his application, and he was not necessarily motivated to go to a school that was a good fit for him, and instead wanted to go to a school that had a prestige factor. And so when he joined Crimson, I helped him figure out what his actual interests are beyond what he's been told that he should be trying to achieve. And they didn't align that far from what he was currently doing, but we tried some new interests out, and we eventually found that Emory would be a pretty good fit for him. So he applied to Emory Early Decision as a music pre-med student, and we worked really hard on the application. This was a high reach school for him. It wasn't necessarily within his range, but he worked really hard on his essays to make sure that beyond what he had already done academically and extracurricularly, he popped in the fit factor for a university, and he got in Early Decision 1. So he's going there in the fall, which is very exciting. So I have a student in the Bay Area who is a really strong student. She's one of the top math students in the country. She is a regular AMY qualifier in the AMC math competition series. which is a pretty hard level to get to. And she does a lot academically and extracurricularly to really shine, but she's not a very strong writer. So the main thing I worked on with her since she joined Crimson was her personal statements, working with her on her essays and whatnot. And she was able to figure out what her point of view was through a bunch of series of exercises and writing activities that we worked on together, hone in on her whatever that voice that she's trying to portray to the university is, because she's a really interesting and captivating student. She just had a hard time putting it on paper, and she was eventually able to write a series of essays that she was really proud of, and she got into MIT early. So she is choosing between there and hearing back about a few schools as well. But I think it's a testament to a lot of students come to Crimson really great at a few things, but there are still a few factors that can help them really create a strong holistic application. And so she was someone that was so stellar in the academic extracurricular department that to the untrained eye, I suppose you might be wondering what else can she do for college, and something that she again really needed to work on was how does she put her personality on a piece of paper. So that's something that she was able to hone, and now she's gonna go to wherever she wants to go, which is super exciting. So as a senior strategist, I'm one of the strategists that gets a little bit more specialized students that come in. So I primarily work with students who are interested in STEM. So I get a lot of students who are coders, math competitors, biology experts, students who do the Olympiad series generally. Or I work with students in the arts. So I work with students who are theater kids. I work with kids that want to go into comedy or filmmaking. So I work with primarily those two types of students, which goes into the senior part. And as a strategist, I work with creating a holistic strategy from whenever they join. For my younger students, that means I might help them introduce different organizations they might not have heard of to join extracurricularly. The main thing, for younger students as a strategist is that I help them build their breadth. So I help them figure out the range of things that they might be interested in. And then for my older students, my juniors and my seniors, I help them with depth. So I help them figure out how to go deeper into their organizations, how to go into leadership positions. And that's just the extracurricular side of things, but academically, I help with course selection, figuring out what trends might look like with their academics, when they should be taking testing, how they should be portraying their grades, if they should dual enroll. And then once it gets to application season, I help with planning everything that goes into the admissions process, like school lists. I help with essay brainstorming, essay editing. I'm the last person to look at the essay before it's sent off. Activity list creation, interview prep, letter of recommendation asking, figuring out who is the best letter of recommendation recommender. So I go into the strategy work for all of that. So in terms of what the day-to-day might look like with your whole team, you have me, your strategist, you have a student success manager who is the person that is kind of your point person with everyone else at Crimson. They're the person who helps coordinate with me at the beginning, and they're the person who helps coordinate with all of the other mentors you might get. Before application season, you might work with an extracurricular mentor or an ECL mentor. You might work with an app mentor that just works in the summer apps with you. So for summer programs, especially more prestigious ones like Promise or RSI, those are some popular STEM programs. And then once you get into application season, you'll work with an app mentor that helps with all of the essays. So in terms of how the essay part of Crimson strategy works, I would help with the brainstorming. Your app mentor would help implement any of the ideas that we come up together, and we being me and the student, all the way up until the essay feels a little bit ready, which then it would go to a group of essay editors that don't know you, that would read your essay and pass it or fail it based on their own internal criteria, which is helpful just because your admissions file will be read by someone that doesn't know you as closely as I do. So it's good to get that third-party perspective, and then they'll come back to me and the app mentor to do last revisions before we send it off. So that's what admission season would look like, but those are just a few of the people that you might get working with you here at Crimson. Yeah, in terms of what makes Crimson different, having worked at a different admissions consulting firm, at Crimson, you have a lot of people who are there to help you with different facets from an expert perspective. So I think the strategist is the person that maybe has their hands on the most things in terms of subjective advice, but you have people who are experts in extracurriculars who will help you. You have people who are experts in essays who will help you. You have people who are experts in just the application part of it that will help you, right? So you have a lot of people there that will help you with the application part, and your student success manager is someone that's going to help you implement all those successfully as well. So if it feels daunting to have to reach out to a bunch of strangers, which I find it daunting, you have someone at the Crimson team who's going to help you with that. So our student success managers are awesome. They help with making sure that as soon as you're onboarded at Crimson, that you feel comfortable and safe with whatever it is that you need to do between when you join and when you leave Crimson for college. So I think the specialized help is something that is really unique to Crimson. And the other thing is that we have a lot of resources and partnerships with companies and organizations that you wouldn't get anywhere else. So if a student has an interest in a tech company, if they have an interest in research, we have people who can either point you in that direction or even connect you with someone at these places that you might want to work for. And so it's really great that there's a lot of barriers of entry to college. And so regardless of how much you want to engage with Crimson, whether it's just like you want a little bit of extracurricular help or you want to have like a full-blown, experience that helps you with demystifying, how to get an internship, how to do research and whatnot. We have, all the things that you might need that are catered for each student. So I think that type of specialized help is pretty unique. So I think the thing that I've learned the most from my students is that the college admissions process is the most non-linear thing that a high school student can go through. The ways in which you get what you would call a perfect application is not as easy in front of you as it might seem. I have a lot of students who we go in one direction and then we accidentally discover something that they're really interested in and we try going down that road and then it ends up paying off really well for them, right? So it's not a linear thing, and as such I think a lot of students who go into it with a rigid mindset, and I've gone into it with a rigid mindset previously, you end up it doesn't work out in the way that you envision it. And so as long as, I tell my students when they join us that they should be as open as possible to whatever it is that we discover together, whether that's a new interest or a new hobby or a new thing that they're good at that they can implement into their essays, right? I have some students who would have never done anything creative, but then they realize that they're really good storytellers, and I tell them we can either implement that extracurricularly, or as long as you're able to implement that in your essays, that's an amazing quality to have that's pretty uncommon. So I think it's just being open to being surprised is something that I've really loved to learn from working with students here. The biggest piece of advice I'd give is be a kid. Go make mistakes, go live life. I think college admissions, again, it's so intense, and a secondary piece of advice I'd say is don't listen to what other parents are saying or what your neighbor is saying, what people down the street are saying, what Reddit is saying. Know that the whole process is as big of a hullabaloo, if that's the right word, as it is because of how confusing it can be, but it's important to still do all the other things that go into making a kid. So make mistakes, don't go seeking it, but if you have a fight with your friends, that's okay. Go do all the things that that you need to live, laugh, love, or eat, pray, love, or whatever, right? Go do all those things because from the perspective of just being a child of burnout myself, I wish I had those moments as a kid too, and I think it's really important to have those in growing, to be a great mature adult. But also from a strategist perspective, you can't really spend your entire essay writing about Key Club or that really hard class you took that one time. So these lived experiences have more than one utility in your life. So, go out there and make mistakes. It's okay not to be perfect, and it's okay if your application is not perfect. It's not going to ruin anything for you. And if you want to learn more about Crimson and talk to one of our many experts here, click the link below.